When Lisa stormed into her sister's house with the key no one had ever taken back, she knew, this time, she wouldn't leave until she got what was rightfully hers. In her hand was a gun, not real, just their father's old display piece from the living room, but no one needed to know that. It was heavy, cold, and perfect for making a threat feel real. In the kitchen, Carolyn stood with her back to the door, pouring herself tea. She didn't even turn around when Lisa slammed the front door shut. "You missed Mom's funeral," Carolyn said, voice calm. "But you're right on time for the inheritance." Lisa stepped closer. Her heels clicked like a countdown. "I didn't come to the funeral because you convinced everyone I wasn't worthy of being there. You told them I'd lost touch with reality. That I was mentally unstable. That I was stalking Mom. But it was you who stalked her the last 3 years, like a ghost in that nursing home, just to rewrite her will." Carolyn turned slowly. There was no surprise on her face. No fear. Just quiet irritation, as if Lisa had shown up late to a dinner party, not barged in holding a weapon. "You'd have lost anyway," she said. "Even if you'd come. Mom knew who deserved the inheritance." Lisa tightened her grip on the gun. Everything inside her trembled, but her voice stayed steady, trained by years of swallowing rage. "We're going to fix that." 25 years earlier, their father died suddenly, stroke at work. He was only 52. No life insurance. No savings. Just a mortgage in default and 2 daughters in high school. Their mother, Martha, was left alone. She took a second job, sold the car, moved to a cheaper house in the suburbs. Carolyn, 3 years older, became the responsible one. She studied accounting, landed an internship in college, and by 30 owned a house with her husband and 2 kids. Lisa chose art. She painted, taught kids in a weekend studio, and never earned more than 30 grand a year. Martha was proud of both, but differently. Carolyn for her stability. Lisa for her soul. The trouble started when Martha broke her hip. At 76, post-surgery, she couldn't live alone. Carolyn offered to move her in. Lisa wanted assisted living, a good facility where Martha could keep her dignity and independence. "You just want to dump her," Carolyn snapped during a family dinner. "I want her to have freedom." "Freedom? She can't even get out of bed without help. You think care means imprisonment?" That was the first time Carolyn looked at her with real hatred. "You don't understand what responsibility is." Martha stayed silent, sipping tea between them as if this weren't about her life, but just small talk about the weather. In the end, she moved in with Carolyn. The first few months were fine. Martha stayed in the guest room, helped with the kids, even baked pies on Sundays. But slowly, boundaries vanished. Carolyn began deciding what Martha ate, when she slept, which medications she took. She threw out Martha's favorite robe, it looked messy. She banned Lisa from calling more than once a week. "You upset her." When Lisa hugged her mother during Thanksgiving, Carolyn said, "Don't jerk her like that. Her bones are fragile." But it wasn't about bones. It was about control. Lisa tried talking to her mother alone. "Are you happy here?" Martha gave that tired smile she'd worn for the last 5 years. "I'm with family." "But you're not with me." Martha didn't answer. 2 weeks later, Carolyn announced, Mom had decided to rewrite her will. "What?" Lisa couldn't believe it. "She wants everything to go to me. You understand, I'm the one caring for her. You just show up, hug her, and leave. Is that all you think care is?" "It's all she thinks care is." That's when Lisa first suspected something was off. Maybe Mom didn't understand what she signed. Maybe she was pressured. Maybe she hired a private investigator. The PI knew his job. He didn't tell Carolyn, that was too risky. Instead, he found a former nanny who'd worked for Carolyn for 6 months and quit for family reasons. She talked for a price. She wouldn't let Mrs. Hayden use the phone unless she was listening, the nanny said. If Mrs. Hayden tried calling you, Miss Carolyn would take the receiver and say, "She's tired, call back later." Then just hang up. And the will. I heard Miss Carolyn reading it to her. She'd say, "You want everything to stay in the family, right?" And Mrs. Hayden would nod, because she was afraid to argue. Afraid? Yeah. Once, Miss Carolyn yelled at her. Mrs. Hayden cried. I quit the next day. Lisa paid and walked away with a stone in her chest. She filed to have her mother declared legally incompetent at the time of signing the new will. But Martha died before the hearing. Carolyn arranged the funeral perfectly, flowers, hearse, priest, ceremony. But Lisa wasn't invited to speak. She wasn't seated with the family. She was tucked into the third row, next to distant relatives she'd met once. When she tried approaching the casket, Carolyn nodded to her husband, and he gently, but firmly steered Lisa aside. "Not now," he said. "She's my mother too. And my mother-in-law. Carolyn's the heir. So please, no scenes." Lisa left the church and never came back. But she never forgot. The next day, Carolyn received a package. Inside, a copy of the original will, signed by Martha before moving in. Everything split equally. Also included, a letter from Lisa's lawyer. "We know you exerted undue influence on your mother. We have witness testimony. We are filing to invalidate the new will. Court in 60 days. Carolyn laughed and threw it away. But Lisa wasn't bluffing. She hired the best probate attorney in the state. Collected everything, the nanny's recorded statement, legally obtained, medical records, neighbors who'd seen Carolyn screaming at her mother by the mailbox. The trial began. Carolyn hired her own team. She claimed Mom was of sound mind, that Lisa was always jealous and unstable, that she had a history of psychiatric visits, a lie. Lisa saw a therapist 3 times after her divorce. The judge hesitated. Then Lisa played her final card. She brought in the former care manager from the assisted living facility where Martha had stayed before moving in with Carolyn. Mrs. Hayden was fully competent, he testified. She could sign documents, manage finances, make decisions. She just needed help walking. That doesn't make someone helpless. "Why did she leave your facility?" Carolyn's lawyer asked. "Because her daughter convinced her it was better for the family." The judge demanded medical evaluations from the time the new will was signed. There were none. Carolyn had never arranged a single official assessment. The court voided the new will. Martha's estate was split 50-50ths. Carolyn appealed. Lost. Lisa got half, the house, savings, stocks. But she didn't stop there. She filed a civil suit for emotional distress and psychological coercion. Damages, $250,000. Carolyn sold her car, drained joint accounts, borrowed from relatives. She refused to lose. But Lisa no longer wanted money. She wanted acknowledgement. At the final hearing, Carolyn showed weakness for the first time. "You ruined my life," she said in the courthouse hallway. "You ruined hers," Lisa replied. "Then mine. I only wanted to care for her." Care isn't control. Care is respect. Carolyn turned away. A year passed. Lisa sold her mother's house and bought a small studio in another state. She returned to painting not for kids, but for herself. Carolyn moved to a smaller town. Her husband left. Her kids stayed, but their calls grew formal. One day, on the last Sunday of summer, Lisa received a letter. No return address. Inside, a photograph. Martha in the garden. Smiling. Taken 1 week before she moved in with Carolyn. On the back, in her mother's handwriting. "Love isn't a prison. Forgive me for never saying that out loud." Lisa cried. Not from pain, but because, at last, she'd been heard. Revenge didn't bring back her mother. It didn't restore her sister. It didn't give back the years lost to betrayal and silence. But it restored justice. And sometimes, that's enough to begin again.